Welcome back to another fantastic episode of Our Corner. I'm your host, Aaron, and with me today is my friend, Tyler.
Hello.
Tyler, how you doing today, man?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. You know, one thing I am going to say before we get started here, last episode, I had one of our other friends, Mike, on, and, I messed up because I actually set him up. What I thought was going to be a joke, the intent was to be funny, but it didn't come off that way. So I want to take time to say that, first of all, I made that mistake, and I apologize for that. So if you're out there listening, Mike, I'm sorry, brother. We hope to have you back. That's not the way that we want to treat our guests, nor is it the way that we want to treat our friends.
Yeah.
That being said, today's episode is going to kind of roll back here into our tabletop conversations. Tyler, how long have we known each other?
I don't know, like 20-something years?
20-something years. And all that time you've been playing D&D, right? And Warhammer. And holy shit, really?
No. I didn't get into all this stuff till way later. So, there's things you say I have no reference for.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. I know that kind of throws you off, but like
it does.
I literally it was always something I was fascinated by, but I never got to do. Does that make sense? I was like kid in like outside the window just looking in, like as everyone else played.
Yeah.
So I never.
You're all
got
sitting
to do
there
it.
like watching me like roll dice. You're like do 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 do.
Yeah, literally like got that like tear, like
over there like, come on, Tyler. You're all no.
Literally, I didn't know what it was, and I was really fascinated. Like I went into a game store, and I didn't know what I was watching, but I was really intrigued. Everyone's rolling dice. They had armies. Like it was really interesting. And then they had other tables of these people like acting out things. I had no idea what it was, and everyone was friendly. They were all seemed like they were having fun, but I didn't know till later that literally I was watching a Warhammer fantasy game, and then behind me they were doing D&D. It was like 3.5.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I had no idea.
Yeah, 3.5 was like the longest running one that came out. And it was so beautiful because 3.5, you had to have the best descriptions for action because for the most part, when you looked inside the rule books, they didn't really have descriptions of like what would happen. Like you'd have to make that.
So
they tell you, they tell you a lot about like what the spell did, like they tell you the effects of the spell, but they didn't really have like a lot of actual flavor texting for it.
Okay, so that's all like DM.
Yeah, it's so. And I could be wrong. It's been a while since I looked in 3.5, but they didn't have that like hands glow red as fire shoots out into a cone shape. It was always like, hey, you extend a this much radius of fire damage, and it does this.
I actually almost prefer that.
That's fine. There's a lot of people that do, but I think the biggest thing that they have done was try to make combat more cinematic to get you kind of involved. It's been more like the Dungeon Master's task to do that for every edition up to 5 and onwards right now. Because, man, I mean, how many times have we played and like when we first started out, we were like, you hit them, roll for damage.
Yeah, that's happened multiple times. I know when we originally like first played, I played with you and like your brothers. That's how it was. And you've gotten better about like, hey, this is how you're doing it. And which trust me, I understand it can be hard to
maneuver.
Like remember like, oh yeah, this guy has this and this, and because you have to. It's like you have to keep the your players' character sheets in your head at all times,
right?
Because you don't want to be like, oh yeah, they did all this crazy stuff. It's like, dude, you can't do any of that. Like,
and it helps to like when it comes to cinematics, some ideas for it, right? Like this is kind of where we're getting to the nitty gritty because they don't ever really give you a manual on how to describe battlefields and like how to describe gore and how to describe like what actions, what effects, what takes place after or during. And I think one of the coolest things that you can do is get your players involved. Because if I sit there and I look and let's take one of our character players, for example, Golgotha, the barbarian that we use. She is a dragonborn barbarian who likes to spit acid breath. That's her big thing. She wants to try and spit acid breath first before anything, because who knows why. Never ceases to stop, never that's her first go-to move.
Yeah.
Right? And so it's easy when someone does that or that kind of repetitive motion that you figure out what that particular power does. But when you ask her, okay, so you go to expose this breath, tell me what that looks like. When someone explains it or describes it to you, I want to open my jaw as wide as possible and I breathe the biggest cloud of acid that I can. You have to sit there and describe, okay, so when you do that, this is the effect of. And then it also, from some of the tactics and things that I use personally, is I use movie reference, right? So when you come in from movie reference and you see the combats from movie reference, it's never they're never stop and they're okay, I hit him. They always continue it's a brush, or even when they miss, there's a chink off the armor or something that makes a sound. When you describe to the other players the scene that happens in front of them from the other player, that's when you can that's when it kind of gets people really involved. So right now Golgotha says okay, I'm gonna spray my acid breath, right? And then we have Urdak, your necromancer, goes, okay, so Urdak sees her jaw open up in real time. The acid spits out into a cone, and in front of his eyes, he sees them melt. You're involving two players at once in sort of this view of combat, and
I think it's how you. I think it depends on the DM, but it's how you want to play your, the combat experience. Is it how we do it? We do go around the table, do one after the other, but in the actual world, it's all at once. Or I know some people do it. They do it in stages,
right.
But they make sure the players have to say, "Hey, I'm doing this after this person," because they kind of sync it, if that makes sense.
No,
They know, hey, once to take your example, once the acid is on that person, that's probably going to weaken their armor. Well, I'm going to use an armor piercing bolt or something like that to make sure that I can get through. So you also want to time it, because that's but I think that kind of, it takes the DM to kind of make sure they remember that and make sure they've said that to the players, hey, you can kind of choose how you want to do it. You don't have to do it all at once.
Right, and we've done where we've had big adventures where, you guys fight a whole room full of people. And it's kind of one after the other kind of deal. And I think in those kind of instances that you have a lot of chaos that goes on that's involved. You can't have it where it's turn-based. You can't have it like that. You have to be okay, who has the element of surprise? If it's the party goes first, and they do exactly what they're supposed to do. You narrate for them what they do in their preparation and their response to their preparation and what the enemy sees coming at them. It's about viewpoints. In those kind of scenarios, the best thing that I can talk about, and we've talked about it before, my biggest preparation is, that movie Kingsman, where they have the Freebird playing in the church, where people are dying around them, on top of them fighting. That's the way that I view those large room combats, where it's they're about to pop off with some plan. That plan has to be triggered. That trigger takes place before they respond. Because if they're prepared before the other people, it's you're not going to not one person is going to throw a potion or an explosive into the room, and then all of a sudden, okay, now 8 other kobolds go before the next guy. And it's got 2 turns to go off. It's they throw it, does the kobold notice it?
Yeah,
you have to play that.
Within reason.
Within reason, yep.
Because, if you do too much of the turn-based, if you do it too turn-based, where their attacks kind of follow the game part, it actually doesn't make sense. And you can power game easier. Because if you know how far you have to go through your people and through theirs, you can plan that too. And that's not, no one in real life would ever do that.
There's definitely multiple types of combat. There's meat grinding combat where it, like, you know, you have to like go through and it's slow go, you know, that's for like hack and slash, you know, where you have a lot of enemies, you have to go through them. You know, there's a big fight on top of a tower, there's only a handful and there's only the party. Like, that's meat grinder to me, because it's like you put them in a position where they have to fight, but there's not a lot of like chance to like do the big room combat.
Yeah, and I'll say the player wise, of course, everyone's gonna like the more cinematic combat because you don't want it.
You don't.
No
want it
offense
boring.
against Pathfinder, but then it becomes Pathfinder, where it's all just, you have to add this big long string of numbers. That might be fun sometimes, but when it's midnight, you have to keep your players engaged.
I don't want to do math.
I'm not doing all this stuff. Like,
the whole point of this is, and it's based on the person for real. You know, nobody's like, hey, Pathfinder is better, or hey, D&D is better. It's just based off their own preference. I mean, obviously, if you like long string of numbers, great.
And that's
but
fine.
Just like you were saying,
like,
midnight comes around.
You're not going to keep their attention because eventually they're gonna be like, dude, I like this and I can't even follow you.
4 divided by the square root of moose. It's like, dude, stop. I think, and we were rolling some ideas around me and Sean about how to make combat more cinematic and less kind of feeling more like Final Fantasy, where it's staged, or where it's like one turn, next turn, one turn, next turn, you know. And his idea is that if we could somehow make it so that, like, say his character got into it with a kobold. Well, they're already fighting. Fighting happens in real time. You don't take breaks. It's like, you know, when you watch UFC, they're not just like, they're not stopping. They're going at each other. They're strategizing while they're swinging. And that should be kind of like that. That sounds like a great theory. We've been working on some stuff to kind of test that out to see how it works.
So more reactive?
More, I would say it's more proactive. Because he engages the kobold. The kobold has to react. So even like, say, he hits or he misses, that kobold's reaction is next. Now, obviously, if he stabs it in the arm, that kobold has to respond, because waiting a whole turn like this,
yeah, that's not,
is like, okay. I mean,
because if I'm next to him, I'm just gonna be like, oh, he's clearly indisposed. He's stabbing my friend. I'm just gonna kill him.
But if you recall, we did have that test last time. We actually tested the cinematic with Urdak, where it was you and the other orc in a fist fight.
Yeah.
And it works really well. I mean, when you sit there and you go, hey, this character was engaged, so this character's engaged. Once they go through a few turns of combat, to turn around and be like, okay, while they're going through this turn of combat, what is the other people doing? And then that way, you're not slowing down the combat for that person by making them wait on other people's turns, and you're not slowing down the turns for the other people that are either watching the fight or engaging on their own. Okay, cool. So I'm going to swing a bunch of times at this guy. You know, you guys go back and forth. You roll the dice. Meanwhile, I have, say, you remember Mike's character was a monk. He's over there battling another character. So he doesn't see your guy fighting, but, you know, he's in his own world. They're in their own worlds. It just makes it easier. And I feel like that's just one.
Do you think it'd make it more complex for you?
It does.
By a lot?
Not by a lot. It makes it more complex in keeping fairness of turns.
And
because, like, here's the thing, right? When Urdak was fighting, due to the nature of the actual challenge,
it was just me.
It was just you. So everybody else had to watch what was going on. Now, whether or not they were like intensely watching, or whether or not they were like, hey, man, you know, that's cool, he's fighting, I'll figure out what's going on in a second. Like, he's still going to be fighting. If I were to sit there and be like, okay, hey, check this out. You guys are going to be fighting, roll your dice, roll your damage. While he's doing that, Look at like Sean's character, looks at Mike's character. What are you two guys going to be doing? Are you guys going to be doing lookout? Are you guys going to be doing this? Most of the time, they're going to have multiple enemies, and it's not going to be just the one. So you'll be able to engage a little bit more. The issue comes with if you start focusing on one character during that combat.
Yeah, because especially like with that scenario, focusing on one character, I can understand. Because if they like the scenario we had, you guys literally couldn't intervene. You weren't supposed to. That's fine. And I'm not saying don't have the other characters do anything, but it kind of makes sense. But if you're doing that when there's a group of enemies, then it's like, well, this isn't fun at all. You're just focusing on one person.
One person at a time. And
Yeah.
if that's the case, that's where we're still working out the bugs, is how do we do it with everyone and not just one person at a time. And I'm looking forward to seeing how that works, because honestly, it works well. One-on-one, it works well. Everybody who's been playing so far, they've been doing phenomenal. Like, they've been doing different skills. They've been using it differently and doing and utilizing their characters like phenomenally.
And it's got to help that everyone is from what I'm seeing, everyone's engaged, everyone's trying. It might not always go well, but they at least tried. They didn't just do something stupid.
Right.
Like, stupid stuff has happened. I blew my own guy up, but it wasn't to just like I hit a rock. I didn't know the rock was there because it was like midnight. I thought it was flat. That's my fault. That's not his fault. And I didn't go, oh, I'm just going to blow myself up because whatever. I was like, no, I was genuinely trying to help the party, and I didn't pay attention. That's my fault.
And then, so, I mean, there's definitely like, there's player accountability, which is what you just showed now, and then there's DM accountability as well. When it comes to the combat, you, as a DM, you can't make it boring. There has to be something going on besides just straight like, okay, you guys ran into like a group of them. It has to be, why are they there and what are they doing? Like, what does the party want to do? Because there's been multiple times where you guys have tried to stop or subdue versus outright killing. There's been times where you communicate versus outright like murdering. And there's times where you guys use a lot of intimidation and diplomacy versus outright like, fuck them, we're just going to do whatever we want anyways, which is great.
To be fair, we use a lot of diplomacy to talk about how to kill them. Like, look, we're talking to you right now.
I would say that still counts as diplomacy.
We're going to kill you.
I would say that
we're just
definitely.
prolonging it.
So, another method that I heard about someone doing was party-based kind of movement, right? Where you have, depending on the character, right? So, like, when you see someone who casts a spell, it takes them longer to cast a spell than someone who shoots an arrow. The arrow, when you release the string, goes off immediately, okay? And then someone who's swinging a sword takes longer than the arrow to fly by. We can see this multiple, like, kind of ideas. When you look at the Battle of Helm's Deep and you see the arrows flying versus the people swinging the swords take a lot longer time for them to hit and parry versus the people shooting the arrows. They're letting them go in, like, mass. They're able to shoot 2 or 3 of them before the sword. And so the idea is that we have something in D&D called a reload, where you can shoot the bow and you can reload for your turn. And the reload is like a free action or a minor action that you can just pop off.
Yeah, it's almost like a second nature thing. Like,
yeah,
if they're proficient in it.
And if that's the case, then hey man, that's great. You can have multiple actions, and once you get to a certain level, you then start shooting like what, 1-2 arrows at a time.
Yeah.
So you have 2 attacks. You can start shooting 2 attacks.
But I think with that, it would depend on who's doing it. Like my guy, it probably shouldn't be a free action because he doesn't really know how to do it.
Spells have to take time in order to like go off.
Yeah,
we're like whether or not you're like casting them or you're chanting them.
Oh, I just meant as like let's say somehow I picked up a bow and I'm like, okay, well I don't really know how to use this, but I'm going to use it. For me reloading the arrow, maybe you don't allow it to be a free action because I'm not proficient in it. I don't know what I'm doing. Where like Sean's character, yeah, that's freebie. He knows what to do. But if he's doing a spell like mine, yeah, it probably takes him a while.
Yeah,
he doesn't know how to do it.
That's very like that's very meticulous.
I know. I'm just saying.
There's a lot of facets that go with it because I mean, like, if you want to break down into greatest detail of all, right? If you take a look at someone it comes down to speed then, right? Because whoever's fastest should be able to swing first. And then you have to take a look at surprise. You have to take a look at all of those kind of multiple factors that go in.
Yeah, proficiency.
Yeah, absolutely. You bitch.
Is that the word you were looking for?
No, factors was the word I was looking for.
Okay.
But yeah, proficiencies work for the character. Factors are what you use in order to determine what happens.
Yes.
Looking at it like this, right? Your proficiency for magic lets you cast magic faster than, let's say, if someone who didn't know magic tried to cast it. Mm-hmm. Okay? That's great. But at the same time, it comes up to you're getting ready to cast a spell, but then something sneak attacks you.
Yeah.
Who's faster, the caster or the person who surprised you?
Then that would go into their proficiency.
That would have to go into their proficiency, so it would have to go into their stats.
It depends on what they're, if
So
they're
I've
rogue,
heard it
if
done
they...
in a few ways, right? The first one is something we use where before we start off and do our initiatives, I typically have everybody roll like a D6 to see who starts the game off first.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people out there who are saying instead of using a D20, use a D6 for each side. And then from what happens is that you have the monsters go next, or whoever goes next, right? And then you calculate who's surprised. You know, does the party have any bonuses like high ground or, you know, what time of day it is? Those kind of deals. And you add the bonuses or the negatives to that one. The drawback of that is that then you go from cinematic to very turn-based.
And I was thinking as you were explaining that with the cinematic combat, would having, let's say you have a party of 5, okay? They're not fighting a party of 5. They're fighting
Party
more.
of 10, 20.
Yes. How, like, doing the cinematic, how would you make it fair to where they're not just ganging up on you and you die?
That comes in with actions and reactions. Okay? Mm-hmm. I think what D&D has is a reaction phase, depending on certain feats that you take. Personally, I think that might be a home rule where we just take out the fact that you need a feat to react, because it doesn't make sense for someone, if I'm going to fight you and Mike, right? Mm-hmm. And you swing at me first, and I step back, and then Mike swings at me, I'm going to try and step back again. And there's multiple things that you do.
Yeah.
And of course, like, you can't react to every single one of them, because then you get 4 or 5 reactions or combat never ends. Mm-hmm. But like, the idea is saying like, hey, everybody has a reaction to at least one of the attacks, or at least for the first turn you have that reaction ability, or to disengage or engage.
Yeah, you just have to be careful, because then it becomes almost unfair, because you would always make sure to have 2-on-1 every time.
You can only have reactions to reactions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, then it never ends.
Like if you do, sorry, off screen over here.
No, you got the mic right there, man.
If you do, oh, that's right.
Turned it on.
You guys are only going to be able to hear my voice. It's going to be the mystic voice from above. If you guys do reactions to reactions, so like, let's say we're fighting here, right? Mm-hmm. And let's say you swing a sword over me, right?
Yeah.
And I'm able to duck under, and you do the reaction, that will be valid. But if I react and duck under, and then I go up to slash you, the slash is a roll.
Yeah.
The slash becomes a roll, and that's how you keep
I'm just worried that having 2 people, and then you have against one person, and then one person, the monster attacks, you're over here, you do whatever action you want, then you have this guy just come in. If it's only one reaction, they can just hurt you every time.
It's not one reaction. It's reaction to any reaction.
But no, I'm saying how they have it kind of written, it seems like it's one.
Yeah,
and it's
you
like, why wouldn't you just have 2 on every time?
And that's why, like, so like if the perfect example, if he slashes at your feet, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you back up with 1, right? Now, your next reaction, because you know that this guy's going to attack too, you guys are both combating. Mm-hmm. Believe it or not, you've already watched the tapes, I guess, from that one guy. So if he goes to slap at your feet and you fucking step over it, and this guy goes overhead, you should still be able to have the reaction to go whoop and duck under.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you'd have to find a like a happy middle ground. So like Aaron was saying, so you're not just constantly fighting one character over and over and over forever.
Yeah.
And I understand that. I just was like, you can't just have one because it makes it automatically unfair.
Yeah.
And you can't have infinite either.
Because
If you did it for the reactions, you could roll on the reactions that involve an action in it. So like
almost like a saving throw for every attack.
almost.
Yeah.
So basically
Yeah.
what you would do, like let's say if we go back to that thing where you swipe at my feet, I jump over the other one. Let's say I want to take my leg and on the next sword that's swiping at my feet, I'm going to stomp on it, right? Well, I'd have to roll for the stomp and be like, that's going to be a reaction. So if I if I lose that, I get stabbed or I get hit.
I'm just saying. I think I'm talking about a separate thing. What I mean is, I'm okay with those. I'm saying, what about after that? Like, how long does he allow it to go before we move on to a different person?
So if you weren't fighting,
does that make
two
sense?
people, let's say you were fighting
Kind of.
4 people, and then you'd have 4 reactions to them trying to jump you. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, so instead of like, you'd have one person who swings at you at the club, you duck under the club, and then the next person tries to kick you, and you sidestep the kick, and then the
But
next
instinctively,
person.
you wouldn't do that. Instinctively, as a real person, you wouldn't do that. The second you dodge one, but the second you see the other one coming, it's going to be fight or flight. It's going to be either run away or you're going to
So
engage.
that reaction would be the roll. So
Yeah.
the first reaction is free, and then every reaction after, you'd be like, hey, I'm gonna roll.
is a roll with an action. So like, let's say if you thrust, right, and I go like, and I like move to the side, that's free. That's a free reaction. Now the next person is going to come in, right, and you have to decide: do I want to move, or am I going to engage? Now if he moves, okay, cool, that's fine. Let him have a pass one, but all he's going to do is going to put himself in a corner. That's where the consequences lie. So if you're in engagement and they're overwhelming you, you're going to be put in the corner. Guess what happens? Well, they kill you.
Yeah, there's no reaction.
There's no
I'm
reaction
just
to that.
I'm just
So
trying
you're
to figure
talking
out
about common
the
sense
line.
versus actuality.
Exactly. And what you're doing is instead of just giving free reactions every time, you are giving free reactions with a big consequence at the end because you're going to die. If you keep moving back, you're going to die. But you force the player into now having to engage. So now it's not just step back, step back, step back, step back. It's step back. I have to block this because otherwise, if I get against the wall, they're going to kill me.
Because the other thing that what people don't see, and this is probably something we might include, is that rule applies when you put your character into dodge mode.
Yeah.
Because if you put yourself into dodge mode, you skip your next turn. So then all you have is reactions. So
But if you do too many reactions, you have the consequence of death. Because if you're backed up in a corner, you're no longer rolling at any advantage. You're rolling at the most disadvantage because you're backed up. You're stuck.
And
you
I would
think-
say
so
I would
then-
say every reaction it's almost like
increases your roll.
it would almost like you would have to have some kind of thing, not just backing up, not just being at
Here's-
a wall, but
what
you would
would
have
you
to have
guys-
something because if you made your character like Sean's character can do a lot better than my guy could. I probably shouldn't have a second reaction. I should probably take the hit because my dude is not made for that.
I was
Yeah.
also
Like,
thinking this just came across my mind.
Unless for whatever reason you're getting overwhelmed and you manage to, like, obviously you don't have a wand, but let's say a character had a wand, right? And you grab your wand and you roll to point a spell at him, then that would be your roll, and that would be an offensive counter.
But
now you're back on the fucking serious
yeah,
black side.
I'm just always I'm also trying to figure out when you could, because there's so many players. Like, I like it. I'm just trying to find out, like, when's the point where you could have someone else come in and help? You know what I mean? Because you just go back and forth.
My other question is,
to
how
where
would you
it's
guys
dead.
feel about when you do the reactions? When you have your first reaction, it's free. The next reaction, you have to roll. And then what ends up happening is any reaction during that turn afterwards, you start stacking disadvantage because you reacted.
But if you do that for any just simple reaction, and you just keep rolling and rolling and rolling, you make it unfair because now the person who's supposed to be blocking has to worry about, oh, I have to roll. If you pin them to where they have a consequence that they're going to die if they get backed up too far, and you start what it would be is, I moved, right? I moved my foot. Now the other sword is coming at me. Wherever it's coming at me, I have no clue. But if I back up again, that's cool. You can back up the second time. Then you start rolling at disadvantages.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at.
But not just that, but your attack. So even if you want to go back on the offensive, like let's say you're like, I'm going to block this. Oh, well, now you have to roll for blocking at a disadvantage of 2 because you went back twice. So now you're running. You're fighting on your back foot. Now, unless you're good at fighting at your back foot, you're going to be at a disadvantage every time.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm trying to get at, because I'm like, that not advantages fighters, but like my guy would just leave.
But
like he
also-
wouldn't stay.
right.
Like, he'd be like, I don't know how to. I can't do
But then
this.
that works.
Bye.
But,
like,
but if your character is designed to specifically not engage, and you run, you are no longer at an offensive or at a defensive. You're at an offensive because you're running away. And as you're running away, let's say your character is not a fighter, right? You run in to get some distance between you to cast a spell, and the other guy turns around. Well, now he's fighting at a disadvantage because he has to run up and catch up and then do all that. So now you're rolling at a disadvantage. So now the guy, like Aaron, for example, like the monsters that you're control of, you'd now be rolling at a disadvantage if they're running at Tyler, because now he has the distance of spell. So now they have to watch out for the spell, for any reaction that could happen, and now you're at an advantage. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Just-
I
gotta
get
be
you.
honest with
I'm
you.
trying
I
to
think-
just figure that to where it's.
and it's gonna take some time.
Fair.
It's gonna take some work.
Yeah,
but
does that make
This
sense?
is a
Like-
theory because I love the fact that like our combats have not been boring by any means of accentuation, but there's things that we can do to make them more exciting. And I feel like cinematic combat is something that we should introduce into D&D, and I feel like there's definitely tools that we can provide with. I'd like to discuss this more on our next episode.
Yeah.
So let's run it, see what we come up with, and then we're going to come back.
Yeah.
But
I
this-
think if we did it that way, I think if you guys did it that way, you guys would see more success in regards to like combat, and it would be less dry than the way D&D has put it.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, all right, this has been another fantastic episode from Our Corner. I've been your host, Aaron. With me today has been the main man himself, as well as my friend Tyler.
The
main right man is
the voice above. This is God.
We'll see you
The
next
one above
time
all.
on Our Corner.